Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. You guys remember that guy? I bet some of you do. Man, all these crypto events that have happened throughout the years, I kind of feel like yesterday. It's kind of bizarre. I think you guys can hear me. Got my finest hoodie picked out. No trading gloves yet. Got the beanie going. We got the coins humming. Just find a chart that's acceptable here. How's everybody doing? Are we euphoric yet? Are we over the moon? Should be this one. Oh, there we are. I think it's finally 3-screen season, which means good things. That's good things. I don't usually have 3 screens up, but feels like we're in the 3-screen neighborhood at the moment. We just pull up the YouTube chat that way. I don't lose you guys. Yeah, BitConnect was the real yield, man. You know, it's funny, and we were talking about yield in the Discord last night, and I had flashbacks to all that nonsense. What up, Bruno, Paperclip, Mustafa, Kimmy Della? Some people just have tough names. We'll just say Cam. We'll do Cam for short. Abandoned Baby. It's a good, that's a candlestick pattern, isn't it? Anthony, JK, Alex, Bittest of Coins, Golshy. All right. The whole family's here. All 43 of you. Let's get started. Things look good. I'm kind of mainly focused on this Sol chart at the moment, but overall things look fine. I'm just concerned, like, shoot from the hip. My concern is smart money is rotating out a little bit, taking profit. Dumb money is rotating into alts. that's like if you had a split second analysis of the market, that's what I would tell you. From Afghanistan, damn, dude. That is what time is it over there? I don't even know. Anyway, so there's definitely rotations going on. Bitcoin is flat. That's good. What else we got going on? Miners are going nuts. Not today, but this week. MSTR is up a bunch. Coin, a lot of people are doing really well on their coin positions, which is good. So I'll talk about all that stuff. Talk about the majors. I got a list of some other stuff people want me to talk about. If you want me to talk about anything, just let me know. What's up, Mask? 12 a.m. in Afghanistan. All right, so that's the chart. I'll come back to this stuff, but I wanted to. I feel like there's been a ton of news that is good, oddly, which is, I feel like, rare. And I define good as market expansionary versus contraction. Like, for the past 2 years, it's been, you know, this thing's bad, this thing's bad, this thing's illegal, this business is shutting down. So you may have opinions on individual businesses or venture capital or whatever else. I don't really care about that. I just care about, you know, we are growing instead of contracting. So Swan's been doing a ton of stuff. They're a Bitcoin company. They're deploying money. They're hiring people left and right. So if you've got skills and are looking for a job, they are always looking for people. This just came out today. It checks all the boxes. Sam Altman, oh my God, backed crypto startup. Meanwhile, seeks to raise 100 million for Bitcoin. Checks box. Private credit fund. Checks box. I don't even know what that means, but we'll take it. 5% yield, access to Bitcoin. Sam Altman's got connections and bags on bags as far as access to capital. So we will take it. And if you're ever curious on like protocol specific raises, DeFi Llama really does a good job of keeping everything together in their raises section on the left here. I like to look at this every now and then just to see which chains are getting the most attention. Just a quick overview tells me it's mostly Ethereum, a little bit of Bitcoin stuff. What is Farcana? Game development. Huh. Yeah, I feel like the GameFi stuff is coming up a little bit more. We'll see if there's a there. I don't even know, but I know that a lot of people are looking at that again. This Babylon thing seems insane to me. I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, most of the raises have been ETH associated projects, from what I can tell. You can take that further, right, and say like this many projects on this chain versus this much money on this chain. Anyway, just a quick overview there. We did have a jump in monthly VC funding in October. Just again, another little interesting anecdotal, maybe data point. Things are rising a little bit. We had Coinbase release futures to US traders. I don't know if their back end is just broken or the front end is broken. A lot of people are complaining they can't access this, including me. I don't know. I don't even know how to like fill out a form to access this, even though it's on my account. So I don't know what's going on there, but we'll take it. It's something. Robinhood opened up a service to Europe. They just reported a bunch of crypto volume stuff on the US side. I couldn't find it, but their crypto volumes are rising. I think for most people, most retail people probably have access to Coinbase, Kraken, right? They're probably not going to use Robinhood for that. What they're probably going to use Robinhood for is to trade crypto equities, which you can do overnight, like after hours for a lot of these pairs, or not pairs, but securities. So there's that. You know, I don't know what the liquidity looks like for that, but anyway, it's more. We'll take it. It's not less, it's more. This thing, I don't know what this means. So this just came out today. When I first read this, I thought it was a Bitcoin fork because it said Bitcoin staking. This sentence worries me. The aim of the project is to build a Bitcoin secured decentralized world by converting all 21 million BTC that will ultimately exist into a decentralized staking asset. That just sounds like a terrible idea, especially if I have no idea how this works, okay? But if it involves selling BTC to stake on some other chain, which isn't going to be the case, but rehypothecation risk, custodial risk, smart contract risk, there's tons of potential issues with this. I don't want to be a naysayer out of the gate, but they ain't getting none of my BTC. I can tell you that right now. Do they mention a target yield? I thought they did somewhere. Maybe not. Like, ask yourself this. What would the yield have to be to participate in something like this? 20%? Like, my guess is it's going to be like less than 10%. That's my guess. It just seems, it's interesting, right? I'll give you that, but I don't know how many like hardcore Bitcoiners are going to say, yeah, sign me up for that. Sign me up for that proof of stake, restaking stuff. I don't know. This was also another kind of bizarre headline that I think we're going to keep trying stablecoins. So this is a Galaxy-backed stablecoin. It's like a multi-collateral stablecoin, I guess. Haven't heard of some of these. Not that that's important, but just another project that is happening. Who knows if this is available to US users? I have no idea. Don't know anything about it. Literally just saw the story this morning, but it sounds cool. I don't think single collateral asset backed stables can work unless they are centralized. So we'll see. You know, I say that specifically calling out something like early DAI rather, where it was just Ethereum backed. Go, the Aave stablecoin's having trouble keeping their peg. I don't actually know if they are multi-collateralized or not. But, you know, it's taking a person to come in and fix the peg or attempt to fix the peg, which is good, right? It's a free market. Anybody can do whatever they want. Would I trust this thing to use it? Probably not. This has been the price. I don't even know if this is the actual real price, but it's more, right? It hasn't been shut down. It's more, not less. Doesn't look like a Ponzi scheme. Well, I'll take it. PayPal stablecoin, just because I was like doing around the horn thing on all the stables, hasn't really seen too much of an increase in supply just yet. I don't know exactly where you'd even trade this. I don't know. I don't know who this is for necessarily, but if it can make its way onto DeFi somehow, make its way onto Curve, which it might be there, I don't know. So I like the experimentation. Don't get me wrong. I just think it's an uphill battle for a lot of this stuff. This was interesting coming from Coinbase, adding a messaging crypto payments thing. It's more, right? You know, you might not love it, but you might say it's like WeChat or whatever, Signal, Telegram. I have no idea. Zelle. I don't know what exactly this compares to or what it's for, who it's for. But, you know, like they say, people send money via apps. It makes sense, but I just, you know, who's it for? Who's going to use it? Who's the target audience? Crypto natives? I feel like if you're going to send crypto to somebody, I'm just going to send it via their address. I'm not going to send it in an app. But then we had this today. Square, Block, whatever you want to think of that as, released a hardware wallet for Bitcoin, at least a pre-order. Looks interesting. Love it. Love the hardware wallet options and competition. Just yesterday, somebody was asking us in the Discord about what the options were for kind of shitcoin wallets, but this is just Bitcoin. I don't know. It's interesting. It's cool. It's more. We'll take it. Another weird stablecoin headline. A bank is backing some euro headline on Bitstamp. This is where it starts, right? At least it's something. It's like hyper-specific, niche, like esoteric and weird, but whatever. You know, we'll take it. It's more. More is more. I'll put all these links in the description of the video so you can read all these headlines, but we had a Wall Street Journal article this week about Bitcoin mining, and the anti-Bitcoin dude is at it again. Not only are we're boiling the oceans, we're draining the oceans, we're poisoning the water, we're killing your children, that sort of thing, apparently. Yeah, I don't know, it's not interesting. Then they fight us, people still hate us type thing. I don't know what else to say. It's just, he loves to hate us, I guess. We were also talking about decentralization a little bit in the Discord, and I'm not plugging the Discord, I'm just saying like that's where we were talking about this stuff. And we kept bringing up like Tron, and now this with Ethereum. I don't think most people actually care about decentralization, which is fine, but when it matters, it really matters. When you start getting censored on chain, like that's going to be a big deal. When OFAC is all over this type stuff, that's going to be a big deal. This isn't like unsolvable. It's just getting away from us a little bit on multiple levels. This is just one example. Not that I'm throwing shade at ETH, but it is getting a little bit worse there. This privacy wallet coin join type activity getting censored by one of the new mining pools, Ocean, which is backed by Luke Dasher, I think is how you say it. Luke is also anti-ordinals, so it looks like they're going to try to block that on chain with a development update. Again, just data points, just looking around. You know, I think we're headed towards some sort of governance debate post ETF. How that's going to work with BlackRock and the ETF, and like, are you going to vote? You know, like, is it going to become like go to the nth degree? Like, the holders of the ETF get to vote on dev updates. I don't think it's going to go that far, but it would be interesting, you know. But if BlackRock wanted to vote as a monolithic, user activated soft fork or something for some position. That would also be interesting, and that's kind of what people have warned against. Just interesting, think about that, what it's going to look like. Back to hardware wallets, we were talking about Ledger, and I just said it's not worth it for me to use a Ledger, but I know people do, and it's fine. I would not use the Ledger Live service. There's a lot of tracking, as they say in this thread, trying to figure out everything you're doing behind the scenes. Just keep that in mind. People are watching, and people are ready to send you to jail should you do something silly. Just like Do Kwon coming back to the United States, getting extradited potentially. So anyway, I'll put that in the good news column. I know a lot of people may disagree with that, but when you do bad things, the law's going to come for you. Anyway, a little bit of a news flood, honestly. Like, I don't know if I'm just paying attention more. I'm paying attention less to legacy. We've got unemployment rate tomorrow morning, which is going to affect the markets for sure. So keep that in mind. If you're in any like max leverage positions, we're probably going to have volatility tomorrow. I don't know what the actual numbers on unemployment are coming out as far as the expected number or anything like that. Excuse me. But we'll probably see a reaction to the news. Depending on if you're in the higher for longer camp, you want unemployment going down. If you're in the bad news is good news camp, you want unemployment rising. I don't know. People are going to see what they want to see. People are going to say the numbers are fake because they keep revising them down or up, whatever. I don't know. It's all over the place, right? Yeah. Would unemployment rate affect your bond holdings? Maybe. All right, let me look at the chat for a second. Let me see here. We can't do that. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, Builder, we will look at some alts for sure, some edge-to-edge setups. There are a lot of good setups. I just think people need to be patient if you're in the trading mindset for alts, because we've been up 8 weeks in a row, So you got to keep that in mind a little bit here. You got to keep in mind that we are at a certain level historically that has been the level. Like, this has been the top-ish historically. You could argue 48, 47 based on the fibs, but we're through the weekly cloud. That trade is done. The next step here pre-halving is consolidation and then breakdown. I mean, that's how it's been historically. We can look at every single halving. 2020, same thing. That actually broke. I guess technically it did break down after reaching the cloud there. But you just have to keep this in mind. I'm just as bullish as everybody else. Don't get me wrong, but historically we have not continued from here. Historically, it's just about the end of the road. I think this time is different because of ETF stuff, but I don't think we're going to see much more on Bitcoin. We might see some rotations. We might see some other stuff. So I'm just kind of like looking at this terrified, thinking, man, it's been 100 years since an earthquake in San Francisco. Like, we're due for an earthquake here, Like, that's how I feel as far as expecting some sort of washout or potential stop run or something like that. So you gotta size your positions accordingly. You gotta be ready to take profit or already taking profit or reducing positions, whatever you want to do. Or if you think I'm wrong and you think we're going to keep going, right? That's also an option. I just don't know how realistic that is yet. But again, if you're in the trader mindset, I think you have to be locked into that sort of thing. If you're in the investor, like, I'm just waiting for the ETF, I could care less. Who cares? This is all just noise. It doesn't matter. You're waiting for like 250, right? You're waiting for the real chart to play out, the power law corridor. which has a level at like what, 260, 270? I mean, look at the risk reward on that. Stop loss is at 20, let's say 25 is your stop loss. And your upside is 280, theoretically. I don't think we'll hit 280, but we might. Let's just measure that out. Even from here. What is the risk reward on that? 11, 12. We'll say 12, okay? So, you know, you got to give yourself a little bit of breathing room on the Bitcoin side if you're in the investor hat mindset. And if anything, you're hoping for a pullback, because I think a lot of people are not positioned well enough and or under allocated to Bitcoin still. So I think a lot of people are hoping for that pullback. But this for sure is potential. You know, last cycle we didn't hit that level, but we also had Soy Boy Sam selling Bitcoin for shitcoins. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. No promises, but we'll see. Anyway, weekly edge to edge is done, and at this point, you know, it's kind of like, what do? We have a ways to go here. The good news is the weekly cloud on Bitcoin will curl up super quick, and we're going to get, you know, like we did in 2020. I guess maybe, yeah, you know, the weekly cloud curled up super quickly, and then we sold off. But you know, we're going to get something similar where the weekly cloud is going to start pinching on the flat level there. So what we really want to see is, if we're being honest, some sort of consolidation, some sort of like okay sign that says we're good to go higher. Even if it's just like it was in early 2020, I guess mid 2020. Trying to find the freaking draw tool. I don't know why I can never find this. There it is. Okay. Something like this, right? Where we pull back to the Kijun, but back into the cloud. So that's also something to watch for here when we eventually flatten out. Do we lose the blue line, the Kijun? Currently at 35, 34.7. Like, that's how overbought we are here. But that would be something to watch if we consolidate, if we pull back. How deep does it go, right? That also informs you how well of a continuation we have, right? Are people waiting on the sidelines to bid this up, or are they just letting it go, right? If we look at the daily cloud on BTC, daily cloud again has a TKC clamp starting to form. We are way overbought from the Tenkin. Just says be careful. That's all I'm saying. Just says be careful. There are tons of divs on this. There's an RSI bear div on the daily, continuous here. There's probably a volume div, maybe? Is that that's just Bitfinex. Let's go on index. Yeah, so you're getting continuous higher highs on less volume, less momentum. So just something to keep in mind. That's all. That's all I'm saying. That's why I like trimming positions here. I don't like adding to positions broadly. I did open a Solana long based on the ascending triangle today, but I'm not super confident in that. I think it's okay to be in that position. We'll see. We'll see. But anyway, back to Bitcoin. I like bids at 35.5, which is crazy as far as like a drawdown from here percentage wise. What is that? 20%? I mean, that's 17%. That's disgusting if we see that, right? But if we see it and my bids are there, great. So I even took off some cash today, a little bit, or some Bitcoin into cash on spot. Closed the leverage position this morning as well. So I'm getting continuously nervous up here. Now we could reconsolidate and go again, and right then we can play this game, but I think it's worth keeping a significant portion in coin. I think that's fine. I think we're going to see continuation. I just think be careful. Be careful. Yeah, as Gosp is saying, there's a gap. What is it? BTC1? There's a gap here in price. I think that's a weekend gap. Not that it matters, I don't think, but right? Is that what we're talking about? 23K. 23K. I mean, we have like littler gaps. The general rule is here the TLDR is on legacy. If we have gaps in anything, we typically fill them. So there is a gap currently at 39.40. I don't know. You know, it depends how ugly the liquidation cascade potentially gets once we pull back, or we just don't. We just keep going. I just don't have a lot. The probabilities to me are just suggesting like, look, we're probably not going to continue again for another week or continue for another 2 weeks. We're probably going to, something's probably going to quote unquote happen somewhere soon here. So I'm just being careful. That's all. I'm just being careful. The 4-hour ascending triangle played out beautifully. It exceeded the target and then some. It came back down to the 4-hour fractal trailing stop loss. So that's really why I got out this morning. And it doesn't look like anything here, really. You know, it's just kind of droopy. I don't know. Maybe this morphs into some sort of head and shoulders down the road at 41, but this isn't screaming to me continuation up here. So I could be wrong, but you know, you got to do you, I guess. 9K gap. Is there a 9K gap? There was one other thing in Bitcoin I was going to talk about. Oh, the parabola. I think that is officially done now as well. I gotta find the right chart that I put that on. Yeah. So we see this from time to time, usually in more retail-y type markets like Tesla. Sometimes it's a parabola to the downside, like ETH BTC. Sometimes it's a parabola like this in crypto. But this was another signal to me, at least. Like, look, we've had this pedal to the metal momentum, made this parabola, and on the low time frames in the moment, we're out of the parabola, we're losing diagonal supports. You know, this is just completely curve fitting arbitrary, right? But it looks like we are slowing down, people are taking profit. That's okay. That's what you'd expect. You know, we're up like 60% in 2 months or whatever. So I'm not concerned we're going to break down completely. It's just I don't want to be holding the bag up here at 43, right? Because now we're going to start trapping the late longers, and then you're going to see more short liquidations. We're going into the weekend. We're going into this unemployment rate number where people are potentially de-risking on Bitcoin. Just something to think about. I don't want to scare anybody out of their positions, but I think we can all agree it looks a little overextended here on Mr. Bitcoin. ETH, you know, let's talk about ETH BTC first, because a lot of people were super excited on this ETH move today, and just trying to find a chart that makes sense. You know, I guess if you're zoomed in to like the 4-hour, you're like, man, yes, we're back, baby. It's so back. ETH is back. It's ETH season. I mean, all we're doing is retracing the past 3 down days. Like, I don't know, you know, but you can again see. Oh, what's that? Is that a pitchfork? Is that a pitchfork I spot? I always forget this is on here. But yeah, you know, this target matches the other targets on the other chart, 035 or whatever it is. What I was going to draw was the parabola to the downside here. Here's another good pitchfork. You know, people give me shit for these pitchforks, but look, there's a signal in this when we dive above or below a bullish or bearish pitchfork. So just keep that in mind. But this is clearly telling you, get the hell out of here when we were at 07. But if you want to draw this parabola, let's just draw it real quick. Because I'm curious. What do we do? Something like this. I guess that's about equal. You know, so you could say, hey, until we're making some sort of headway on this parabola, maybe I'll just sit this one out. That's just me. I like buying strength over weakness. I know a lot of people yesterday were like, man, alt BTC pairs look so bad. I'm going to start buying. I don't know if that works that way, you know, but good luck, I guess. If you want to put this on here like this, you can do one of these as well. Completely up to you. Like, I'll admit we're getting closer on ETH BTC. I just think this keeps going. It's just a flows thing, you know? Like, this thing has a month on it, maybe, to survive, to pull up, to go sideways. But when those ETFs are open, I would not want to be sitting in ETH. There will be a day when ETH has its day, but I don't think that day is next month. That's just me. That's just me. I talked about, I gotta find the chart real quick. I talked about ETH BTC in the video yesterday on the other chart, but that has better evidence for, you know, bearish continuation. I think what people are doing is they've sat in ETH for so long. They were sold this story that ETH is sound money. It's the play. Now they're kind of questioning that as it's sold off for a year plus. They're hoping for a bounce. I don't think that's where you want to be as a trader. I think for me, I'd rather buy someone else's tiers when they sell at 0.36 or something, right? This is where I would want to rotate. There's going to be days like this where ETH does better, but from a longer term exhaustion play, I would want to see deep lows to be super sure. And you saw that harmonic probably, but some TA, you know, we'll see if this plays out. It'll be pretty interesting if it does. We'll start to see the ETH maxis, you know, as I say, lose their religion at like 0.3 or 0.4 or 5 or something when this chart starts looking really bad. And if you're curious how bad these parabolas can get, I mean, we can go straight to Tesla, baby. Straight to flipping Tesla. Now, obviously, different market conditions, but just to get a flavor of what these can look like, right? Like, guess who was trading Tesla? Can you guess? Can you guess who's trading Tesla? Can you guess who loves Tesla? This has investor fingerprints, or sorry, retail fingerprints all over it when we see stuff like this. Just hitting a level, people capitulating more, right? So we could see that with EBTC. I'm just saying. I've been right so far. We'll see. But let me pull the candles real quick, because I'm curious. Where's that at? Bars pattern? So on TradingView, you can copy it over. Hold on, let me just go here. All right. This is for me. This isn't for you. This is for me. So that, you know, that parabola was, I don't know, like twice as fast as ETH BTC, but if you want to like stretch this out, I don't know, it's just interesting to see the structure play out in different ways on different markets. And, you know, I don't think it's quite bullish yet. Anyway, so I do think this has a little bit ways to go for multiple reasons, mainly flows and also TA. But ETH USD looks great, right? And this is kind of like the alt video yesterday, a tale of two cities. There's a lot of alt USD charts that look really good. I'm not going to deny that. It's just a matter of risk sitting in alts, opportunity risk, versus just, hodling and chill, as the kids say. I like 31, I like 42 on ETH. I don't have like a time component there, probably within the next 6 months. So, if you're comfortable potentially getting spanked on the ETH BTC pair, yeah, love it, right? There's an edge to edge still here on ETHUSD to 28. Looks good. I don't think there's anything to complain about. Looks totally fine. There's this pitchfork, multi-year pitchfork we're still in. Looks fine. I don't have any complaints about this. It's finally moving up, right? I was saying, I think on the video too, that I keep seeing these look on chain alerts of ETH whales selling, or these bankrupt companies selling ETH. Today we finally saw the inverse of that, which is someone buying a bunch of ETH and ripping it off the exchange. So I do think there's some equilibrium supply stuff going on in the back end right now, as far as there's a lot of overhang in the supply that's getting absorbed. So on the USD side, I have no worries at all that this eventually plays out. The daily cloud, honestly, I don't even think it's relevant. All you really need to pay attention to is the ascending triangle targets, in my opinion. Right? Like, do we really care about the trend here? It's been literally trendless. It's had no trend. So we can draw this ascending triangle however you want it. I don't care, but you can even tell me it doesn't exist. But that looks good. Looks fine. Like, I think also people are seeing a lot of alts clearly outperform super quickly, and they're getting anxious and they're like rotating around. So ETH has been a laggard clearly, but it's catching up. Looks okay. There's nothing really else to say about it, other than it should get there eventually. With Sol, like I said, it has a similar setup to BTC USD before it broke out on the ascending triangle. So here's what I like about this that I didn't like before that I like now. It had its 3 drives it had, right? Potentially had a head and shoulders. It didn't break down. Great. Held that key June, win for the cloud. Tried to break into the cloud on the 8-hour, failed. Tried to have a bearish DK cross, that failed. It recrossed bullish. This is like a super ugly, if it is an ascending triangle. But I like that this is consolidated slightly below the yearly pivot, just like the Bitcoin chart. Admittedly, the upside here, I don't know. Maybe it goes to 80, right? It depends how squirrely the Sol people get, but I'll be happy to sell this at any price higher at this point, right? Like in the 70s, 75 plus. So I like that we canceled the head and shoulders. I like that we're consolidating at the yearly pivot. I like that we're above the 8-hour cloud. I like that there's some sort of pattern here. It looks good. It looks like this looks like a chart to me that wants to try to make a move up. If it does, great, I'll be there. If it doesn't, that's fine, I'm wrong, but it looks okay. As far as the stop loss, I think like 58 on the pattern, maybe even too high, but somebody was asking me about the risk reward on this, and we can measure that. So I opened it, what was it, 65 probably something. Let's say my target's at least 75. So that's not a great risk reward. It's not the best looking setup. That gets better as this ascending triangle goes along because you move your stop up, right? And like I said, this could keep going to 80. So not my most confident trade, but I do like that we're seeing some life out of Solana a little bit. On the daily, there's clearly, right? Again, you're getting, be careful signals here because this is TKC clamp all day, right? If this breaks down, it's 42, it's 44. That's why I think you need to cut, not investment advice, not trading advice, but you do need to cut this higher because the downside risk is in the 40s. So I think you have to be careful with that on anything in the short term. The weekly cloud still looks good, right? Again, a lot of these USD pairs look really, really good. Look undeniably good. We can look at the Sol ETH, Sol BTC, right? Those also look decent. Sol BTC on the 3-day, oddly enough, kind of looks like BTC USD on the daily. But on the weekly, right? We're in the cloud. Looks okay. Looks fine. Stop loss is probably like, I don't know, 011 or something, 0116. But from a trend perspective, reversal perspective, looks good. Sol ETH, I think, looks even better. It's probably pulled back a little bit, but doesn't look great at this point, but trend looks fine. You know, this could morph into some sort of angry, like M double top. I don't even know. I don't really see anything specifically, just chop, right? There's nothing really here, but just something to think about if you're like this min-max rotator trader, which I guess they're the loudest on social media, so I see this all the time. I don't think this is most people, but just interesting. Anyway, so Sol looks fine. Looks okay. I like a long here, sized appropriately, using pretty decently tight stop considering where this could go. What else was I gonna? Oh, ADA was another one that on the USD pair, right? Looks okay. Just as a setup. The coin doesn't need to exist, but the setup looks okay. The setup looks fine. Even if you get trapped in a long up here, like on spot or something, because you're getting a bullish TK cross in the weekly, I think waiting this out is almost a no-brainer on spot. Just because of the potential upside here. Looks okay, right? Now's a better time than, May 2022, I would argue. We finally saw that consolidation phase. So these to me are the types of charts I like. We're finally seeing some strength after extended weakness. It's really that simple. On the BTC pair, for people that care, I know most people could care less, but I talked about this yesterday too. It's out of its angry channel, so that's good. Maybe you could even argue like, is this some sort of something here? We're talking like, inverted head and shoulders. If we got the bull goggles on, because I know if you're trading ADA, you probably got the bull goggles on. Something like that. That could at least, like, who cares about the target? It's going to be minuscule for this setup, but it's just, this could set off a move higher, right? Just like it has historically in 2018, 2019, 2020. This is Bitcoin halving, by the way, in 2020. Guess what? ADA did really good after Bitcoin halving. Guess what's probably going to happen this time? I'll let you take a wild guess on that one. It's probably going to do pretty good. Probably. We'll see. The ETF's going to change a lot of things, flows-wise, so you got to keep that in mind, but looks okay. Let me talk about Link for a second. I don't think there's anything here other than, I said potential, what did I say, ascending triangle again? You can kind of see it on the weekly, but anything that looks like this has a chance, right? I don't know if it's going to keep going, but looks okay. It's got a mega TKC clamp again on the daily. Your downside risk is 12 realistically. So I would put a tight stop on that as well. But it looks okay. A lot of people were asking me about Aave. Aave's kind of been stuck at 100. So I don't really know what to say. Like, again, we're going to be talking about these charts for we're going to be talking about these charts for a year probably. Okay. So like settle in, get comfy, get some hot chocolate or whatever, and just watch it play out. Because if this actually plays out, then 250, 350, but you cannot get nervous if it lags and everything else moves around it. You know, I think using some sort of trailing stop loss on this is obviously what you need to do once this gets going. But right now, your stop loss is probably 80, like 20% down. And that's for all these setups on the USD pair, even for ADA. Like ADA, your stop loss, I don't even care what price is at this point, you know? Like, I don't even care. I'm just looking at the upside, which is dangerous. I think Joey was talking about what's the risk reward for this. It's stupid, right? It's, let's say you enter here. Like realistically, $14 if your stop loss is new lows, right? So you gotta like, not 14, sorry, 6. If your stop loss is new lows, if your stop loss is anything else, it gets even better, right? And that's if you enter here. If you wait till potentially a shoulder in like April, then your target, your risk reward, whatever, is even better. I just don't think you can be like super relaxed about it. I think starting to accumulate some of this stuff that looks good enough. I mean, look at this thing on the 3-day cloud. It literally hasn't been above the 3-day since the top. And there are a lot of charts that look like this. And I'm somebody who, again, doesn't think this coin should exist. It has no reason to exist. There's no community. There's no DeFi. There's no fundamentals whatsoever. This is just trading, okay? So keep that in mind. Aave, same thing. Above the 3-day cloud for the first time since the top. So you've sat out and avoided all this nonsense. Another one I looked at yesterday, right? HNT, same thing. That move already happened. Yeah. Coinbase? No. Right, this move already happened. But this is why you look for setups like this, because they have just crazy upside potential, you know? So that's, I guess AVAX is another one people were asking me about. I don't have a great read on AVAX because, again, I just don't think it needs to exist. Sorry, but technicals look fine, right? It looks like everything else. On a pullback, I would add this to my like long-term investor alt stack. Anything at this point probably sub 20 is acceptable. There's a little bit of maybe a horizontal at like 21. If you're lucky, again, similar to ADA, into 2024, we get some really angry sell-off that looks like this, right? And we can measure that. I hope my fat head's not in the way. So we'll see what they look like, but all these charts, sure. You know, you just got to give them time. Just got to give them lots of time. We read the chat. Yeah, Capo was right, guys. He was right. One more move up, then down only. Just let me know when he says to go long. I'll sell everything. Do we think we will correct first and then start the alt season? I think broadly we're going to correct eventually before the halving, broadly. Wasn't 2017 like the legendary alt season? For those of you that were around in 2017. What would be, I guess, total 2? Yeah, let's look at total 2. And then let's turn on Bitcoin halving. I mean, look, it's right there. This is 2020, okay? This is the Bitcoin halving. This is total market cap excluding Bitcoin. Guess when alts did best after Bitcoin halving? Let's look at 2017, shall we? Guess when alts did best? So is it appropriate to probably start accumulating? Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. But you got to have a long time horizon on some of this stuff. You have to be confident that it's going to play out. But you have to have a long time horizon because you have to give it a chance to do its thing. And I know a lot of these charts like Bonk, right? They're up like 2,500%. I'm not talking about those charts. I'm talking about maybe this higher mid-cap stuff that we're talking about. And look at this right now. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. We're not above the weekly cloud on total 2, but we are inside of the weekly cloud on total 2. This is arguably, let's turn candles back on, a pretty gross looking inverted head and shoulders, right? Maybe white coffee, and I don't see a spring, but, you know, like, look, good enough. Good enough. Your stop loss would probably be, what is this? I don't even know the value there. 560 billion, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whatever this level is. That's all that really matters. But this could move. I think that's $1 trillion. It could move to $1 trillion. Another 30%-ish, maybe, if my math is correct, which is probably not. What is it? What is it actually? 50%? Okay, guess it's another 50%. But I would just give it some time, number one, and get turbo bullish post Bitcoin halving, which is kind of backwards. You'd think Bitcoin would do better after Bitcoin halving, but that's not what we've seen historically. ETF could change that, but only on the BTC pair. I don't think it's going to affect the USD pairs so negatively. So just something else to keep in mind. I mean, if we want to, do you want to get conspiratorial a little bit here? You have your tinfoil. If you want to watch the real signal, okay, wait for stablecoin prints, which have absolutely been pretty correlative to price in total 2. Now that includes USDT in total 2, so that makes sense, but alts kind of need stables to live. Stables are the lifeblood for alts because most of these alts, from what I've seen, get traded on exchanges that don't have fiat pairs. Anyway, that's total 2. But things look good. You can't deny it. Now, if you want to be real with yourself and look at the alt BTC index that I looked at on the video yesterday, right? Like, does this thing scream bullishness? I don't think so. Other people would disagree. Doesn't look great. Doesn't look great. So it's up to you, right? You trade what you want to do, but I'm not going to be heavily weighted alt right now. All right, let me keep reading chat. I've neglected chat. I've just been talking for an hour, just like a maniac. ETH BTC 2017. Okay, we talked about that. Never filled. Yeah. Okay. So look, there are gaps that don't get filled. You want to know another gap that I would love to get filled would be this Nvidia gap. Let's just bounce around. Even if you don't trade this stuff, I think it's important to like paper trade it to just get a sense for shots on goal, opportunities, your system, what you're comfortable with, what you're uncomfortable with. I was bearish at the bottom, basically, of Nvidia, based on the head and shoulders that everybody made fun of, and it went back up. Nvidia still looks like it wants to roll over. We'll see. It's still above the daily cloud, but this thing has a massive gap, right? Massive gap from 316, 365. Everybody sees it. Everybody knows that. I get it. But watch to see how this gap behaves if this does break down, right? Just something to think about. We can also talk about gaps like GBTC. Turn this off, sorry. GBTC had a massive gap and was really one of the reasons why earlier this year, when I was talking about it, man, a lot of people, including me, were super bullish on this because look at the gap here that got filled. I guess there? Yeah. And that was when we were at like 8 on GBTC, right? And that was a 2x from the bottom. There was another gap that got filled up here on GBTC, right? Now we have gaps on the way down. You know, we have a gap at like 21 on GBTC. We're through the weekly cloud. Great. I don't love this weekly candle. It's not bearish, but it kind of points to bulls and bears coming to an equilibrium up here, buyers and sellers. We're above the weekly cloud. I shouldn't expect more from this chart. The only thing that's keeping me in is the discount, which we'll look at right now. It is growing 11%. So to me, maybe there's a little bit of juice left to squeeze here. Maybe the price doesn't even matter. Maybe it's all about the actual ETF approval. I think that's a fair point as well. But a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people are looking at this chart. A lot of people. I'm actually surprised how many people are talking about GBTC. It makes sense because the ETFs and the discounts have closed. But this chart looks really good. Obviously, the trade is done, right? I mean, it's over for the most part. I wouldn't jump into this here unless you expect a premium, which I don't. But if they're going to give me a premium, sure, I'll sell up there. ETH is, to me, the better trade here because of the discount, which is at 17%. I don't even really care what the chart looks like. The chart has plenty of upside left, right? There's an edge to edge here on the weekly. The gap is, I guess it got filled-ish. I'm looking at the gap, this gap here. I guess that got filled at this point, but there's probably another gap at like 24. I don't know. Chart looks fine. I don't think it's in any hurry. I think eventually you're going to see 26. Eventually you're going to see this discount close. It's at 16. Now that may not be until after the ETH ETF gets approved, which is probably going to be like 6 months from now, if that, right? We'll see. But I think this trade has more left in it than the GBTC trade. And if you want to get like super min-maxy, we can look at the ETH GBTC chart. And you could say, I was using the wrong cloud there, but it doesn't really matter. Same deal. you can see the ETH BTC chart in this, but here is where those discount closures are playing out, right? So I would argue there's still this triple bottom potential. And ultimately, I wouldn't want to rotate in fully into ETH until like 06. Whatever this, it's just a pair, whatever this ratio is. That's if I'm even correct, which I don't know. I don't know for sure if that's what's going to happen, but just something to think about. If the GBTC discount closes completely and ETH still has some discount left in it, what happens here? Or, is GBTC just a runaway freight train because we got an ETF? I don't know. I do like the setup. I like this. Like, if you're going to trade ETH BTC to the long side, I like it way better on this pair than spot. Doesn't mean it's actually going to play out, but does look okay. All right. Jewel? Yeah, people keep talking. I have no idea what this stuff is, guys. I got to admit, I have no idea. Not that that matters, but great, I guess. Like, when I don't think there's anything to say other than here's what you look for. Almost always when you see a chart that goes straight up, there is accumulatory evidence, if accumulatory is a word. There's a reason that this thing had a crazy move, because it had, I would argue previously as a TA maximalist, it had a accumulation period, right? The same thing with Bonk, right? Bonk had I guess Bonk didn't necessarily have an accumulation period. I mean, maybe it had the tiniest Adam and Eve at the bottom there, but it probably had a bull div. Yeah. Whatever. The top side price is irrelevant at this point. The higher time frames, if you're watching something like Zcash, this is a great example. You are getting a div all the way at the bottom, right? You had whatever percentage this was. That's not even from the top. That's 83%. So you were getting evidence of bearish exhaustion. But, if you're looking at ETH BTC, this is what I want to see. I want to see bearish exhaustion. And we haven't seen that yet. I have no TA on this whatsoever, other than maybe you measure, I don't even know. Maybe you measure like, just looking for like a consolidation period. I don't know, honestly. I have no idea what to do with this, because it's left me speechless. Even the previous highs don't really make sense. You could also just call this like a giant mega falling wedge. I'm sure somebody did on somewhere before this broke out. So that's something to watch for on ETH BTC. But yeah, I don't know what to say about this. I wouldn't touch it up here, but there are people who are going to. It's up 5,000%, and you want more Anon? I don't know. Okay. So we talked about GBTC, ETH. Let's talk about coin really quick. There's been a lot of, even in GBTC, there's been a lot of selling on the ARK side. ARK is the Cathie Wood ETF suite. They hold a lot of crypto or crypto adjacent stuff. They have strict allocation limits, where they have to rebalance if, for example, the coin position takes too much of the portfolio. Let me just, it's like Cathie's ARK or something. I'm just trying to pull up the, so you can go to this website, you can look up the trades. This is after the fact, right? But you can get a sense for what happened. And you can also look at the current allocations to see if we're probably going to see another rotation. You know, I don't think today we're going to see more selling. We can go into the holdings. We've got Coinbase at 11% on ARK. We've got ARK Q doesn't have any. ARK F has 12.5, so there may be a little bit of selling there. I don't know what the actual like limits are. I'm assuming it's somewhere between 11 and 14% as far as like what they can actually hold. 11% on ARK W. Anyway, so you get the point. She has a lot of Coinbase. She has a lot of Square, Tesla, decent chunk of Robinhood. I've been posting these in the Discord as far as like what's happened, but to get in front of that and to see like why is coin underperforming today? Oh, I don't know. Kathy's reallocating, right? She's rebalancing. Not her physically, but you get the point. Anyway, yeah, so the chart looks fine. It's gone straight up for 6 weeks or something. You're having a whale come in and rebalance their ETF and sell. But it looks okay. You know, I don't have anything specific to say. I think depending on your time horizon, you're looking for like 150 plus is my guess. Just depends if you're trading options or if you're trading just shares, I guess. We technically haven't even started the actual like bull run. If you want to like compare this to Bitcoin, right? Spot Bitcoin hasn't gone through the weekly cloud yet, right? So we could have another like mini down move and then the cycle starts. And that's on everything, including coin. Like coin could pull back to 108. So if you don't like that, you know, maybe you trim some or maybe you figure out what you need to do. But I think eventually 214 for sure. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to sit through a potential down move, assuming we have one, which I think most people are on board with at this point. That's coin. Talked about Aave. Talked about Sol. What else do we have here in the chat? Rooney. Jeff asking if we see a run in Zcash before the tricentennial. I just, you know, look, I don't know why generally people are still holding this thing. It's just for the Bitcoin pair, right? Because again, like the USD pairs look fine. Like they might move up, right? Like look at this thing. The first time it's above the 3-day cloud since 2021. Here you go. Here come the ZK Maximalists, everybody. Yeah, it could have a run. It's got a decent upside on the USD pair. But I don't really care about that because, you know, because I've seen this and I know what the end result typically is here. It's a new all-time low every other day, right? So I don't know why you'd want to hold this over the long term. You literally have just lost continuously for years. This might be your year though. This could be your year. Zeke, BTC, Maxi. I mean, this is like shorting Bitcoin for 7 years and just hoping that you're going to see some upside. But this could be the year. This could be the year. Interesting that it's held this midline of the pitchfork the entire time. Anyway, that's enough Zcash bashing. So yeah, the USD pair has a chance, but everything else, I don't think so, guys. I don't think so. I just don't think so. Bear Bull says, rotate out of BTC, waiting for a pullback. Otherwise, he'll just watch. Yeah, I think a lot of people at this point are on that type of mindset generally. Tomorrow stream with Ledger, I think, yes. I'll have to ask him. Do you think Base will eventually catch a bid? Does Base have a coin? I don't think Base doesn't have a coin, right? Am I crazy? I don't think Base, maybe you mean like the Base ecosystem? Sand into Decentraland. Okay, in a weekly edge-to-edge scenario, is it still recommended to wait for a confirmation candle or? Yeah, I mean, all this stuff, like, look, let's go back to the ADA example. Not investment advice, okay? This is just based on back testing, forward testing type stuff. I would size this based on confidence in where this goes and how long you want to sit in this trade. So look, if you've got a stack of cash that's burning a hole in your wallet and you're looking to deploy, baby, and you want to hold this for a year because it has an upside potential that's significant, I don't think you need to wait for the cloud entry. The cloud may give you a better entry down the line, but you know, look, if you're confident, go for it, right? What signal will be a good confirmation for alt season? Well, not getting regulated to death will be good. That's kind of like a anti-signal. Stablecoin issuance ticking up would be what I would watch the most, for sure. Absolutely. All right, let's just keep cranking out some charts here. SNX, Aave I talked about already. SNX, same thing. Now, most of these alt charts, here's the thing, guys. If the total 2 looks like this, like most charts should look close to total 2. So again, on the USD pairs, you're fine. You are fine. It's the Bitcoin pair that's going to just destroy you. It's literally going to destroy you. But most people don't care. That's fine too. I'm just saying. If you don't care, I don't care. Okay, so like, it doesn't matter to me. FXS. Yeah, there was some funny business going on at Kraken. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if the book's illiquid. I don't know why you would buy up. Like, is somebody really that bullish on this pair? I doubt it. Okay. The chart looks great though, right? You know, it's got accumulation after accumulation. It's got Adam Eve after Adam Eve. This whole thing is a W, right? Like, I just think you need to be patient across the board. Not Walt Winters specifically, who asked me about this, but just generally. Like, we spent a year going down. We spent a year going sideways. Maybe give it a year to see if it goes up. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Just give it a year. So I would have that mindset where, like, these are my long-term trades, these are my short-term trades, or whatever. This is my investor hat, this is my short-term scalper hat, whatever. But they look fine. As long as we're above clouds and we're making higher highs and stuff like that, I think this looks fine, right? This is the inverse. It's literally, you know, if we invert this, it is the inverse of ETH BTC, right? It's the reason why I'm bullish on this and bearish on ETH BTC. This is ETH BTC, right? So maybe we just do one of these. What's the 886? I'm so bad at these harmonics. 886 is 41, okay? Technically, this is called a bearish bat, even though it goes up first. We'll say 48, if that high even matters. I don't know. There's your potential move. 48. But it looks good. It looks great. OP, yeah, OP was up a lot today. You know who's really good at some of these is Johnny. I post his charts on Twitter every once in a while and retweet him. He's been looking at this. I think the entire ETH ecosystem is sort of waiting for ETH to catch a bid. And this is a great example. This chart had this Adam and Eve double bottom like over and over again, right? It had this, still has this mega ascending triangle. I mean, this, I wouldn't hold this because it's an airdrop, I think, right? And I just think a lot of people can't wait to get rid of this thing. So you'd have to watch the unlocks and whatnot, but I like 3 to 350. Like easy, eventually. Not like tomorrow, but just from the ascending triangle. Another one was Lido. I think that broke out as well. Maybe not. Just kidding. Thought I saw that Lido was up. Lido, I thought it had, yeah, okay. So Lido also has a different flavor of the ETH USD chart. Just like Optimism, OP. I would call this an ascending triangle. I think this could go to 4 or 5, somewhere in there. Just based on TA. If it has issues with regulatory, whatever, then that's going to be a problem. But yeah, you just got to give this stuff time. Just give everything lots of time on the spot side if you're in an alt right now. In IMHO. Does this have a weekly cloud? I don't think it does, right? No, not yet. It's above the 3-day. Yeah. I think the most important thing for a lot of these is just that horizontal. Looks okay. Looks okay. Yeah, SNX we talked about. Uni and Sushi. Uni I haven't looked at in a second. So let's take a look. Is there a Binance chart I have? Kind of messy. I don't like Uni from on the fundamental side. I wish they would give some fees to the users and stop relying on VCs to fund the company. But technicals look good. I think you just have to be patient. Again, Adam, Eve. That's a bottom pattern. The target's irrelevant. I don't really care that the target's only 10 on the pattern. It's the trend reversal that's more important, right? It's above the 3-day for the first time since the top. I mean, what else can you ask for? You just have to give it time, and you have to hope that this stuff doesn't get delisted everywhere. I think that's a real concern, that US exchanges completely drop all this DeFi nonsense. So when that happens, it's going to hurt price, obviously. So just keep that in mind. It'll probably continue to live on, but got to be careful. It's not like Janet Yellen is excited about DeFi, or Gary Gensler, or most of these people. I guess maybe you hope for a regime change politically, but I don't think the right is any more lenient on DeFi than the left, you know? I could be wrong there, but I know Jared's maybe pro-crypto, but I don't think most of his cabinet is was pro-crypto. Trump, at least. Trump, I don't think was it either. All right, we have OP, FSX, SNX we looked at. XVS, somebody asked me about. I don't know what this is, but we will find out. Venus, is that a DEX? Looks good. You know, this is one of the reasons why that I love the cloud. I don't even care what the ticker is. You're just looking at trend, that's all. And this is the same story as everything else. Right, down for a year, consolidate for a year. Maybe down for 2 years, consolidate for a year, whatever this is. Looks good. I have nothing to say. You know, it just needs time. You're gonna have maybe some sort of consolidation, maybe a move, right? Arguably, there was a little bit of a consolidation already. before it broke out, but it looks good. Ray is another one that I tried to buy on Kraken, but I don't think it's available to US users. It's very similar. I think Venus is also a DEX, or it's a derivative protocol or something, right? Ray is a Solana DEX, I think. I guess you could buy it on the Solana DeFi ecosystem, but looks fine, right? I mean, no complaints whatsoever on this chart. Consolidate for a year after down a year. Love it. Someone's asking about Sand and Decentraland. Sand and Decentraland. Yeah. Sand looks okay. Similar to ADA and whatever that other chart was. Maybe you get another shoulder here. If you don't, you get the edge to edge. It looks okay, right? I'd rather buy this here than when it broke down again at 68, when you had the bearish TK crisscross there, because you're also getting, it's probably really hard to see, you're also getting the bullish TK cross below the weekly to just tell you that the bearish momentum is kind of coming to an end here. Chart looks okay. Decentraland, what is it? Land? I don't even know what the ticker is for that. Mana, of course. How could I forget? How could I forget that one? Same chart, right? Different flavor slightly, but same chart. I like it above 56. If we want to look at the weekly cloud, I mean that's a move. I don't think it gets to 320. I think it's a little bit early to jump into this expecting 320. But it looks okay. I mean, who's going to tell you this looks bearish, you know? Looks okay. Thanks for throwing that pitchfork on the BTC chart the other day. No problem, Mikhail. Matic cycle target, $1. That's my cycle target for Matic. Let me read some of this chats here, sorry. Any thoughts on why LTC has never made it above the previous higher highs? Because LTC has no actual use case beyond getting stuff off of an exchange. Trump released 2 NFT collections. You're right, I forgot about that. He is so pro DeFi. Anything new? Someone's asking me about this. Hyper? I have no idea. Look, there are so many options that aren't something that's released yesterday and can rug the heck out of you. It's not even, unless it's this. There's nothing to say, right? Like, what am I going to say? Let's go to the 15-minute and look for something. Like, I don't trade these type of charts, so I don't have anything to say. It looks fine, you know. Like, I know nothing about it. They could rug you in 10 seconds. I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. Sol on-chain rotations are going to be wild with liquidity and airdrops. Yeah, there's been a lot of like airdrop hopium for sure on Solana. A0. Okay. I mean, this is like bonk, you know? The question I always have when people ask me a chart is like, where did they get in? Not that it matters. But like, are they asking because they got in here at 140 on this chart? I'm not saying whoever asked this, I'm not giving you shade. Like, are they underwater or are they like, man, I'm up 500%. how much more is in this, you know? Because like this is up. Okay, it was only up 100%. So it's not so bad. The structure looks kind of bearish. Doesn't look happy. You know, I think the best you could hope for here is a like a falling wedge type deal. All I can see is this like ugly head and shoulders, but not something I would want to get into. Up here, I would wait for, what is the daily? Maybe $1.12, which is kind of towards the end of this falling wedge. Don't know what it is though. Okay, so yeah, he said Miroslav, he says targeting the Kijin retest on the daily. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. 112. Aura ETH. Not a real pair. Let's make it. Aura USDT. Sure. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't like, I don't know who asked this. Kaysen? I don't personally like weakness in a chart. Again, I don't know why this person is asking these necessarily. If they're, you know, if they're in Aura and hoping to rotate into ETH or whatever, but this definitely looks like a chart that is losing strength relative to ETH. Hopefully they're asking because they have ETH and they want to rotate into Aura, but yeah, not something I would touch. I would wait for strength on the Aura side first, because this could just keep going, right? Like what stopped the previous 3 months? A little mini squeeze maybe, and then more down, right? So you just gotta be careful on that, for sure. Why are you people talking about Zcash, Ripple, and altcoins? Buy new alts every cycle or stick to BTC and ETH, says Gosp. I'm not gonna disagree. Not gonna disagree. Monero looking great on the weekly, says Walt. We'll take a look. Yeah. Yeah. It looks good on the USD pair. On the BTC pair, not so much, but on the USD pair, it looks good, right? It's above high time frame clouds. It's entering the weekly cloud. This must have some sort of volume thing on here. That's why I have that on there. Yeah. Pattern looks good. Volume looks good. I mean, you want to see declining volume when you're making this type of pattern. The next thing you want to see pretty soon is a jump in volume. But if we look at the XMR BTC pair, I think it's another story. It is an ugly chart. Never really recovered after the last Bitcoin halving. I don't know. I had some hope. There was a lower time frame accumulation thing down here. But yeah. Most pairs are going to look like junk against, most coins are going to look like junk against BTC. Just keep that in mind. This does not look like anything I would want to touch. Maybe you'd wait for a bull div rather, on a high time frame. So weekly is just now getting into oversold territory. So I would wait, wait for a bear div. Sorry, bull div. I always mess those up in my head. Wait for some strength. You could also just like hope that it doesn't retrace down here, but I'm only spending time on this because I know a lot of people look at Monero a lot. Anyway. Yeah, it doesn't look good against BTC. What alts are you buying for the next bull run? Will you provide a breakdown or list? Says Cathal. Yeah, so I started. Eventually, I'm going to have a list, yes, with prices, with dollar amounts. I'll put everything. I don't care. It's probably going to be like $10,000 spread out amongst 10 to 20 alts. Maybe it'll be more than that as far as dollar amount, but it's not going to be a lot of money to me. It's not going to be a lot of money to me. I'll quantify that. Because some of these, like the upside is so big, I don't need leverage. I don't need big size. To me, like the alt itself is a leveraged trade, you know. BTC. Doge is another one that, sure, right? Like maybe this has a little run. I don't know. I don't really want to buy this, but it doesn't look horrible on the USD pair. And the BTC pair, maybe you're hoping that it's oversold, right? It had this mega wick. You know, you want to be here for the mega wick. So the level that I would watch for is some sort of Elon tweet or something. Trying to find the price label. Whatever the Kijun is up here. If you could get 500 sats, that would be a miracle. What is that percent-wise? 120%? Taking a heartbeat. The difference between now and 2022 is that 2022 had a pretty decent argument for falling wedge, inverted head and shoulders. I don't really see that here. Maybe a weak bull div. I keep messing that up in my head. Right, you're getting lower lows, equal momentum. Maybe that's good enough. I think this is good enough to put in a portfolio of alts that historically have had good moves throughout the cycle. People know what this thing is. Retail knows what this thing is. You just have to be super patient, and when it moves, you have to get out. Not investment advice. This could go to 2,000 sats. I don't know, right? I don't know what this is going to do. Maybe it's just some mega falling wedge. I don't know. Okay. But for me, I'd be happy with 500 sats at 200. Anyway. Those looks okay. I don't know. I'd put it in the basket and just forget about it, basically. And when you see it cropping up on social media, you're like, oh yeah, I've got some of that. I'm going to sell. That's it. Okay, we talked about XVS. Somebody asked me about Ton, which is the Telegram coin, right? I don't know. Is Bitfinex the best chart for this? Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, is this a cup and handle here? Is this reversal here? If you have to think about it, it's probably not bullish. It looks kind of angry on the breakdown. I don't love it. I mean, I wouldn't touch this here. I would expect an edge to edge to $2 basically. I'm sure on the BTC pair it looks like death. Yeah. Looks like somebody must have asked me about it a while ago because I drew this head and shoulders. This is why the default position whenever I see any reversal pattern is just like, nope, not gonna touch it on the upside like this. Even if it's wrong, it's just not worth the risk. In this case, you were right. If you said this was a head and shoulders and it's down 25%, from that point. But this does not look like a chart that is happy right now. That's for sure. Wait for a div, wait for a pattern, wait for something. That thing looks quite angry. All right, MSTR, yes. What else? What else? We haven't looked at miners. Let's look at that. MSTR has a pitchfork. It's above the daily cloud. It's above the weekly cloud. It looks good, right? It's funny. I tried to take it out of log and I tried to put it in log and it was already in log, but that's how crazy this chart looks. So this is weekly on the crypto cloud. Let's change that. Weekly on legacy cloud. Don't really care about volume personally. It is through the weekly cloud. It is above the weekly cloud. Bullish TK cross, bullish Kumo twist. I don't think I would jump into it here. It's at the midpoint of the pitchfork. I just think you're probably in this because you're a longer term holder. What is there to do? I don't think there's anything to do, you know? You just hope that the ETF doesn't mess with the viewpoint of this vehicle as a pseudo ETF. 2,000 to 2,500. I'd write that down on the whiteboard behind me and my non-existent whiteboard. And I wouldn't think about it until we're close. I mean, that's it, right? Maybe that's it's funny. The pitchfork might actually play out in a sense that 2025 is like, you know, when we expect top to happen. Sure. 2,000 by April 25. Clip it and ship it, chat. Get Sailor on the horn. I think it looks fine. Even if this pulls back, like what? Who cares, right? Like, look, if this thing's actually going to be bullish, let it do its thing. Let it absolutely do its thing. Even I don't know if you can actually like think of this that way, but MSTR BTC. I just wonder if this has anything on it. I would never sell my BTC to buy MSTR, but from a relative value perspective, I bet you people are looking at this, you know. There's probably something else you have to do with the calculation because it's share dilution, more BTC per share or whatever, right? But I'm sure there's an interesting thought experiment there to think about. I wouldn't expect this to change much if there's an actual ETF as competition that people get into instead of this. People are kind of buying this as an ETF. Anyway, something to think about from a relative value perspective. WGMI continues to just crank. You know, all these miners pre-halving probably do really well as they're doing now. We talked about this last week, but cancel head and shoulders through the weekly cloud. Looks fine. I have nothing to say. A lot of the miners' charts look like that. CleanSpark has just... I almost said a swear word. I almost said fucking just, you know, this is an insane move, right? An insane move, whatever. I'm speechless. But a lot of these minor charts continue to look good. Speaking of parabola, there's another one for you. Put that one in the lookbook. Miners look good. MSTR looks good. Coin probably sees a pullback eventually. Still overall fine. What else didn't we talk about on the legacy side? I think that's everything, right? Square. Talk about Square. Square is another one that there's a massive trade here eventually. It's just, you know, time versus waiting for pullback. I think this chart, if crypto's seriously bullish, if Bitcoin's bullish, then you'll see 100s again on Square. Just because we looked at the stablecoin PayPal. Yeah, I mean, hey, maybe PayPal even somehow survives. I wouldn't touch this. I'd rather deal with Square than this, but something to think about. What else we got here? The last couple minutes. Thanks for coming, everybody. Dislike, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Whatever you need to do. Coming down to the bottom of chat here, catching up. SpaceX, they're not public yet. Gosp. Doge 1 to the moon. Oh, yeah. Exactly. What do you think the implications of layer 2s are? Drawing value and activity away from ETH. Thanks, and cheers from the UK, says Max. Yeah, there's always been this question of value accrual because the layer 2 chains are getting all the activity. And I don't know. I think it's another reason why ETH isn't doing so hot. It's lagging. Even I don't use ETH when I'm trading on chain. I don't really touch ETH at all. Not that I'm most people, but as an example, most people probably don't touch ETH anymore. They don't need to. It's too expensive. They would obviously much rather use a layer 2. So there's a lot of like free block space right now that isn't ETH. Even still, ETH has a ton of on-chain fees, right? Bitcoin's fees, 12.5 million today. That's huge. ETH is at 15 million. And then everything else is kind of super sad. You know, here's another, if you want to be honest with yourself about your chain, look for like Litecoin. Okay, Litecoin's had $1,000 in fees today. Monero, $1,500 in fees. Decred, used to be a Bitcoin maxi darling, $36 in fees. Solana's not on here, but you can find it. You know, most of the fees, high fees aren't a good thing necessarily, but it does tell you what's going on, who's using what. And a lot of people using Bitcoin for whatever, ordinals, other crap. The other stuff, though, not so much. You know, if your layer 1 has less fees than Dogecoin, you gotta ask yourself what's going on there. Dogecoin, great medium of exchange. You just spent $40 to send 500. Why? What are you doing? What are you doing, Joey? Anyway. So it's an issue. It's an issue, and I think owning the layer 2 coins is an issue because there's just a lot of supply that might not matter if we have an actual bull run. I'm specifically talking about like Optimism and Arbitrum. You would think, oh, everybody's using this. It's got to be bullish. Or I love this chain. I love this layer 2. It's great. It's got to be bullish. Maybe if we really get cranking, but you just got to dodge the unlocks and gotcha. Work. You got to dodge the unlocks and you got to dodge the VC taking profit, that sort of thing. But there's a ton of block space right now. All right. Somebody had asked me about, as we finish up here, somebody had asked me about legacy a little bit. I still think S&P looks fine. I don't really care what the jobs numbers are tomorrow. I think we're going to be okay. If the jobs numbers are bad, the market's going to go up. If the jobs numbers are good, what, is the market going to get angry that the Fed's going to wait to cut? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of sick of like guessing what the market's going to do based on numbers. I don't really care. The chart looks good. That's good enough for me. These charts look phenomenal. You know, like send it. Just as like anecdotal data point or historical data point, I would love. I don't want to see Biden lose because I don't want Trump to reveal my political bias. I'd rather have neither of them, but it's going to be interesting if we're at all-time highs in the markets and Biden loses the election because I don't know if that's ever happened before. I would have to look. Anyway, these charts look great. It's plain and simple. They look great. And let's look at TLT. TLT had that massive bounce. And again, just as a student of markets, like looking for things in charts you don't even potentially trade. I certainly don't trade TLT, but TLT had a pretty decent argument for a bearish, did it again, bullish divergence, made a lower low, less momentum. So again, I keep talking about ETH BTC. This is what I would want to see on ETH BTC. Very similar setup. And the weekly cloud doesn't even think this is bullish yet. But as far as a real deal bounce, I want to see some bearish exhaustion on ETH BTC. Daily TLT looks great. It's above the daily cloud for the first time since April. Looks fine. We have some debt, or we have some treasury auctions coming December 11th. So we'll see what happens on those. But looks great from a technical perspective. Can't argue that. Can't argue against that. DXY looks angry today. That's good. Some old notes. Let's see if my notes were right. Okay, so I said, what did I say here? I said, if we go down on DXY, risk markets relief rally, check. Increased probability of Fed easing, check. Rates and yields fall. I guess maybe that's down the road. That obviously isn't happening now. Relief in emerging markets, I think that's probably true. Recession inevitability pricing in. I think the doomers are pricing that in. We'll see if that actually happens. Inflation has a second wind, I said. Time will tell on that one. But Trueflation, just pulling this up real quick. Trueflation says, survey says, we have started to tick up a little bit on Trueflation in the United States, the UK, for you people across the pond. Looks fairly tame and flat at a multi-month low. Looks okay. I said this a few weeks ago, but it's going to be awkward when Trueflation is rising and CPI is falling, which is very likely to happen. Because we're gonna know there's an asteroid coming, and everyone's gonna be dancing in the streets, thinking, "Man, inflation's over." I don't expect rip-roaring inflation, but I expect the markets to start getting anxious when inflation CPI is ticking up. That might be as early as like January, So that's another thing on the Bitcoin-related trade in January to think about. What is the inflation picture? What are the rates picture? Are we in a recession? Do we truly care about any of that stuff on the crypto side? Just something to think about. All right, I think that's all I got in me for today. I think we went over most things. We talked about a bunch of charts, news. Oh, Gosp, one last chart. He wanted me to look at the 10-year yield on, or China's 10-year yield relative to Dixie. Is that right? Joey, I'm not sure. Is it just consumer inflation? You mean supply side? Somebody has a chart out there where it's looking at Bitcoin price relative to this specific pair. Trying to see if there it is. I forget the relationship that we want to see. Move to left scale log. I guess we want to see this rising as a, I don't know. There's some better chart out there that I'm talking about, that I'm showing, that I think is favorable in Bitcoin's case, because the 10-year is gaining on the DXY, right? Isn't that what this is showing? I don't know. This chart breaks my brain. But there's something here that's favorable for Bitcoin. As long as the DXY is falling, I think that's a win for us. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Like, dislike, all that fun stuff. If there's anything that you want me to talk about next week, just let me know in the comments or in the Discord or whatever. And might see you tomorrow for LedgerCast. That's all we got. Have a good one. Take care.